Everybody, welcome back to That Scuffed Up here on this beautiful 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Justin Lee. That's Stephen Hayden on the other side. Episode 57 has arrived, the first episode of the year, and the first episode in about over a month, man. It's been a while since we've made one of these, and it's great to be back. It's a little bit of some ash in the air. There's a little bit of sickness in the air. Everyone's kind of getting just over the hump of flu season, it seems like. I'm getting over a minor sickness, apparently, since coming back from Hawaii. Seems like a lot of people are feeling the same thing. College football is right in the middle of playoffs, and everything looking pretty good if you're a Notre Dame fan right now, as this is being recorded. Playoffs for the NFL right around the corner. And wiffle ball is starting to get back into high gear, as always. Stephen Hayden, my partner. It has been a while since we've done one of these. We didn't do a recap episode. We'll get back into that a little bit. But how is 2025 getting off its feet for you?
It's been an interesting start so far. You know, we've had all these fires and stuff about hour or 2 hours north of us, so nowhere close to us, but you know it's still there. Baseball's been going. We've been getting started, and wiffle ball's been there. It's been a little bit of it was a little bit of a needed break for me, and trying to come back and play and try to remember how to hit with the yellow bat has been a little tough. After basically at the end of the year, I was basically just hitting fast pitch bat the whole time and all this stuff. So we're getting back into it. We're getting the feeling back, and it's starting to become that time of the year where baseball gets going, and then wiffle ball will start getting going in a couple months.
Certainly will be, and since we missed it, hopefully everybody had a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, whichever holiday you prefer to celebrate. We're all here for it. It's great to be back here on this podcast. Basically, what we're doing on this episode, since we didn't do one, because we usually do it, we only did it 1 year, but we did it last year where we did like kind of a recap and rundown of all the big things that kind of happened and replaying all the big moments that came around. It's a pretty big year, so to speak, for most of us, especially I would say myself for sure, not as high as what you have, but Steven has definitely been in bigger moments than what I've been through. So okay. A little plug here, just to start off before we get into the nitty-gritty of things. If you didn't see it on Instagram, it was kind of up there just a few moments last night. Rocking some new gloves. You can kind of see it. You'll see it on OC Wiffle Ball's Instagram, and also from where these gloves are from, the Travel Squad. If you go to trvlsquad.com, you can go check that out and get yourself some new batting gloves. These ones are pretty nice. They're first edition release that they just had recently, made by our friend's company, Ben Cospati, and these are pretty looking nice. Comes in a cool bag. Can't really see it from there, but yeah. Steven's also got his own pair. I mean, what are your thoughts about these gloves in general?
So far so good. I mean, they're a different design. A little bit of a little bit some different stuff on the front, and I mean for the price. I mean, compared to a lot of other gloves I've seen out there, they're pretty good so far. They're pretty good so far. What I've been using them. So they also got other stuff. They got T-shirts. They got adult hoodies. And, we're not like truly sponsored or anything by this. They're not paying us to say this stuff, but. I know it's one of the guys we've played with ball against when we were first starting to play, and it got us was part of the group where we went to our first tournament with back in 2022 at the SoCal Winter Classic, which we'll talk about a Winter Classic a little bit later on. But this is Ben Cottaspotti's company, who also makes the Walk-Off Elite bats. So just give a little bit of a shout out, and you're interested in anything with relating to batting gloves or shirts or hoodies, or there'll be shorts out there soon. Just go check it out, and if you even want, you could use my my QR code to help support the other Wolfsville C as well. So with some of their payments and things like that we do for the team. So feel free to check it out.
Might put that in the description later for everybody to get to that if we feel like it. The cool thing about these is that I've never seen this before. This was like the little double wrap that they have around the glove. I'd never seen that before. That was a little bit interesting. That's what I wanted to kind of point out there. So it does look good with the new jerseys that we got this season. So nice little touch there. Kind of worked out with the color scheme of things. If you still want to see those pictures, go to LA Waffles of OC on Instagram and check out those pictures. They look pretty sweet. They do fit very well, that's for sure.
Yeah. You see a lot of like the bigger like glove companies, batting glove companies. A lot of them have that double wrap to keep your wrist firm and make sure they're not flopping through this when you're swinging the bat through the zone. 'Cause last thing you want is to be on a pitch and then all of a sudden your wrist just flops down and you end up messing up your swing or something like that. So, you know, go check them out if you're interested.
Yeah, if you feel like that's the thing, go down in the description, go check those out, and support local businesses. And, well, I mean, not local to us, but a friend of ours, basically.
Near and dear to our heart.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's get into it. And today is January 10th as we're recording this. And I guess I'll let you kind of go into it about the rundown and how this was put together and what you're kind of giving us here. So please take it away, sir.
Yeah, this is kind of a little trip down memory lane, kind of things that have happened from in the year 2024, with one event being like the last 2 days of 2023. Just kind of a rundown of everything, kind of, and also a little bit of looking ahead to the future and on what's in store for for LA Wolfos, what's in store for me, what's in store for SoCal, things like that. That's just thinking of stuff. There was a lot of things that came to my mind. A lot of things that we did this year, spread over the previous 12 months. Now, one of those things, kind of, we just mentioned Wiffle Classic, Winter Classic, I should say. One of those being a thing we did together was that SoCal Winter Classic in 2023, in which we had a second place finish, just barely losing to the Las Vegas Pharaohs, who had the likes of Randy Dalby, Trevor Bauer, Tom Gannon, and Logan Christie. Lost to them in a close 3-2 game, and almost came away with $1,000 for the team. But just came up short and ended up coming away with a little bit less. But I just remember that one just being a fun, especially that second day. I remember that being a fun day where everything just came together, and it almost resulted in us winning our first, at the time, would have been our first tournament.
Yeah,
tournament.
It was a really sweet tournament. If I remember, it was James Lee that was with us out there. Had a really big performance. We were able to play against some of the better guys in this area. In that, I was just happy that I was able to get at least a few hits, let alone maybe just one, if that was what it was. There were some really funny moments. We got that cool camera shot of Steven's face trying to catch a fly ball in the outfield that went over the fence. That was a big one. But you could say it was very close in that final game. And that was probably like the closest to beating some of the better players in this area I think that we've ever gotten to. And overall, that was a fun one. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do another SoCal Winter Classic this past January, because there was one supposed to be scheduled, but that one got moved to a later date. So it does suck that we aren't in that situation right now, but looking back in retrospect to that one, that kind of what kicked off a lot of the bigger event stuff that happened throughout the year, especially when you get closer to summertime. But other than that, yeah, really fun.
Yeah, it was a good time overall. It was our first time playing with Mr. Tommy Hernandez as well, who we'll talk about a lot more later on as we go through this. Yeah, him, James Lee, yourself, myself, and Jordan Dreschler. Things worked out pretty well the second day. First day was a little bit of a struggle. Went 1-2 in pool play. Lost one close game in a little bit of a heartbreaking fashion. But then we came out the next day. We beat basically the Llamas from SoCal, which they had beaten us the previous day. We beat them with James Lee on the mound, and then James Lee three on homer, and then I had 2 homers in that game. Came back in the 5th inning to beat the Whippets with Peter Maccabee, and Pete Tainton he was the one on the mound. Also, Darren Easley was the third member of that team. came back from 2-0 down in the fifth into the top of the fifth, bottom of the fourth to win that one 4-2, and then just lost that one to the Pharaohs. We had our chances, but just unfortunately couldn't come through. So overall, fun time, and it was kind of a good kickstart to the year.
Yeah, it was a very good kickstart to the year, and it was also at that very beginning when a lot of, I guess you want to say, teams were mixing each other up, and we got a little bit of drama early on. Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to take this one?
Well, yeah, we had a lot of some stuff go down. You know, Tyler orchestrated Jordan going over to the Beach City Bombers, and then they wanted to be on the podcast live to announce it without me knowing. Apparently, I guess you knew like that morning, but I didn't know until during the podcast, and that came out of the blue for me. So that was also kind of like the last time Jordan playing with us for a little bit was that SoCal Winter Classic, and it just a lot of stuff started getting got very interesting out there. Especially we played him the first game, which I just thought that was funny. Nothing bad against it or anything. I just thought it was funny that right after that all happened, we ended up playing them that first pool play game of the tournament. But yeah, it was some interesting times. We had just come off winning our third OCO Football World Series in 4 seasons, and four if you can count that Summer Classic for OCO Football. But I know we had to try to find a new look. We had a guy who I had really worked on a lot and helped be able to build up was now gone, and I had to try to look for a second pitcher and someone to be able to fill in his spot, especially possibly a lefty bats. And I know that's what we kind of did with Tommy Hernandez after he played with us in that Winter Classic, and then he joined us in OC football in his first season in the spring of 2024.
Yeah, what a guy he has kind of become, especially for this podcast alone, and then what he's been able to do on the field for us. And his personality is just, he's one of the nicest guys to ever play it. He's so passionate. You could see it the first time, even with the SoCal Winter Tournament, you could see that he was willing to do a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff and trying to learn through the process. Maybe his pitching isn't exactly fine-tuned yet, but his batting was definitely what really brought it throughout much of this year. And especially in that first season, just the way that he kind of came in, blew away everybody with the amount of home runs that he hit, fighting for that lead with Haskup early on in the year. Winning a home run derby too was another big thing for him, and kind of established himself as like maybe one of those other up and coming people, just like yourself in wiffle ball, and really establishing who he is as a person in the wiffle ball world. And he's definitely gotten up there since we first started playing with him early on.
Yeah, we were able to have him early on. He joined us for that spring 2024 season in OC Wiffle Ball right after that, so we got to see him every Tuesday. Speaking of stuff he did, he also hit a walk-off home run to send us to the World Series against Beach Bombers with Jordan Dressler pitching. So, it was like a stupid high-scoring game. It was something like 18-17 or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I remember we were chasing one going to the bottom 6. And it was just about holding on and giving us a chance. I hit the home run to tie it, and then Tommy stepped up and hit the walk-off to send us to the World Series for the 4th time in 5 seasons in the highest level. Just coming up short in that World Series, though. Lost in Game 3 to the Trash Pandas, who were able to win their first World Series in OC football. So a little bit different there with the that was the last season. We also had 4 teams as well. It was for a couple seasons. So because we had the OC Wolves of LA also I think it might have been another team as well. But overall it was a fun first season. Getting to be around Tommy, who I sat in the car with him in 2023 going to Arizona and back. So I'd been able to talk to him a bit and see what he's like and see how he. Now, how what he wants to try to do with wiffle ball and things like that. So, we'll keep talking about it as we go along here.
Yeah, certainly will be. And it won't be the last you get to see him because obviously he's now like one of the co-hosts of the show. But right now he's a little bit busy with school and all that, and right around in that middle of that. So kind of came in at a really good time for us with the podcast and just playing overall. So heck of an athlete for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So that ran until about like March or so, or April of the new year, and then right around May, we had SoCal Wiffle. They had a group going out to MAW for the first time ever, going all the way out to, well, that's in York, Pennsylvania as well. It's about 15 minutes away from where UIFs happens every year. Out there, we had it was Dustin Staggs. We had Sawyer Bean, Jackson Pearson, Logan Christie, and Ethan Johnson. Those five went out there. I was not able to go out there as I was in the midst of my baseball playoffs, but they ended up going out there for the first time, seeing what it was like playing in that league compared to just being at UIFs and stuff. Ended up with a 1-2 record, not quite good enough to make it into the playoffs, but they did have a great 9-inning game versus the New School Risers versus Ben Doolin on the mound. Dustin had the game-winning 2 RBI single in that game, and then Jackson Pearson threw 9 innings, only allowed 1 run, and that was in a situation where you started with bases loaded, nobody out, because you got so far into the number of innings and stuff, but. Lost the other 2 games. Lost one to the Las Vegas Whifflers, who will be talked about more and things like that. And then lost to TC 35, which that was their only tournament they really played this year, which they got to face Connor Jaso on the mound, who's a guy who's touched the hundreds before and things like that in terms of pitching. So not a bad result overall for them going out for the first time, and it was unfortunate for me not be able to go out there, but it was cool to see them go out there for the first time and get recordings of it and stuff and videos out of it.
Yeah, I don't really know much about that one. I think I remember talking about or mentioning it in like one of the early podcasts that we did. That one kind of really went that way over my head. But the good thing about that one is that it kind of builds up a little bit of just what SoCal Wiffle Ball was trying to do early on for this year. And I think that was probably one of the goals for sure. And it kind of, this year it really exploded. If you've been following us since the beginning of this year, you kind of know where SoCal has been able to get to. And I think we're definitely going to be highlighting a lot of it throughout this recap, because there was a lot of big moments for SoCal Wiffle Ball to really elevate themselves from where they have been to where they are now. And going into this year, it's going to be a little bit bigger than what they've been able to achieve so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a wild sophomore year of competitive play for SoCal Football, so that will be highlighted more as we go along through here. But this was kind of the start to be able to get your name out there and to be able to just let people talk to people, connect with people, let people know who you are, and set things up for the future. It was also first time I played with Jackson Pearson, who will be talked about a little bit more here in the future. So just able to make connections and play some wiffle ball, basically.
Exactly, and this is like right around that mesh point where kind of went dark for a little bit, and then summertime was kind of kicking in, and that's I guess like everybody's starting to practice for the summer tournaments. Those were like, that's what you train for. Those summer tournaments is what everyone's trying to focus on now, and try to get out there with the big barrels and fast pitch and whatnot. This is right around the same time where we introduced the newer jerseys, the white ones that you've seen us wear. That was thanks to Stephen Hayden for designing that jersey overall and fine-hiding what it is today, which is very reminiscent. I know. There it is. Very reminiscent of the City Connect jerseys that the Angels have, and then that little touch of the cherry blossom on there. We still have the full graphic details about every single little detail on the Instagram page if you want to look at that. If you're somebody who's coming in here and is like,
look up on the Instagram. My camera's not focusing on it, so just look it up there.
Yeah. Just go do it. Might as well get a little bit of attention to our page, which is needs a little bit more, needs some love, needs some tenderness and love from people from the community. And then this is also right around the time where we start introducing some other people too, because we needed to fill some roster spots, especially for the summer season for OC Whiff, not just that, and then also the summer. But then it was kind of like also experimenting at the same time during the summer season with some of those tournaments too.
Yes, yeah. So this the kind of the beginning of this. No, it was cool getting those jerseys. Talk with some of the fast pitch guys I had lined up to play in the summer with guys like Tommy, Justin, Jordan, Joaquin, James Lee. Kind of talk to them about like possible idea for a new jersey. Want to try to get a second jersey out there to just to have and just be able to have some fun with and things like that. Well, I will probably won't do a jersey for a while. It's good to have two different options. You have the blue and orange, a little bit darker, almost like the University of Illinois colors. It's almost like it's almost like my I got family that went there. And then you got these ones where it's a little bit more hometown of the Angels, using some of the original logos that were put in the like just kind of put for fun when this team was first ever formed before I was even the captain and took over for it and stuff. So fun to do that. And as the summer kind of got started, it was very much a struggle to try to find enough guys to be able to fill the rosters for two teams. And while it was a struggle, we were able to get it done just enough, even though our team only had four players. Did introduce us to Brian Owens playing with us for the first time, which was a little bit awkward because a little bit before that, Tommy Hernandez had had come from Brian's team to my team to go play for fast pitch for the year in this mock tournaments, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But no issues there, no issues there at all. Ryan enjoyed coming out, and we learned a lot from him. He learned a lot from us, and it was a fun experience. You could see him in that mic'd up on the LA Wolfos page of Justin Lee doing some stuff and doing some dancing and things like that. But
he's drunk dad.
Season, oh my god!
See, you remember that one?
We kind of remember that. I remember that one.
He's drunk dad.
Yeah, but overall, it was an interesting summer season. Really, and kind of a slump for us. Just couldn't quite get everything going. Ended up losing that one in the semifinals as well to the Trash Pandas, who then went on to win another one, their second one in a row. But it was still good to just play some whiffs every once in a while. Be able to that team specifically was you, me, Tommy, and Brian. So it was fun. It was fun for the four of us to be able to play together and just try something out. Even though it didn't quite work out in the end, it happens, and we move on.
Yeah, that's always the case. Move on, play again. The great thing about being in OC football is that you get that many amount of season in a year, so it doesn't run out of like you gotta wait a whole off season and then come back and then do it again. No, you can come back after pretty much a week now is basically the break, and then come back and start playing again and then just do it all over again. But it does feel a little bit different nowadays, especially since we changed the format of divisions, and now it's I want to say less competitive in terms of it's just very concentrated with just a few teams, and that's what it was most of the year. Not discrediting this season, which is a lot different because now we actually have those competitive teams that we were missing for some time, and now they're back. But it's definitely not the same without having those big long playoffs. Like you start with the wild card and then go to the championship and then go to the World Series. Like now it's just basically just championship and World Series. And when that was a thing, that was a struggle. And I remember that first World Series that we played in, the first one that we ever got, that was a struggle just to get all the way into that.
Yeah, it was. It's the 2024, the OC football definitely changed a lot in terms of the divisions stuff. It took away a little bit of the allure that we had like when we won our World Series in terms of having to fight to make the playoffs and then going through the playoffs and going through multiple rounds. It kind of stopped in 2024, which coincident. I mean, it has nothing to do with the fact that we were winning in the 2024 year. I think everyone was feeling when you have three teams in a division compared to when you only have three teams and like another four competing for three different World Series, it feels a little different than when that spring 2023 season is still it still just was just a magical ride and just a fun ride for us, and really got things going for us, and we got about through 12 teams. We battled as the fourth seed and had a unreal playoff run and things like that. But alas, it's still out there. We're just out there to have some fun and be able to relax on a Tuesday night, be able to hang out with each other and things like that. So it's just all in good fun, and we'll see if we can continue on for this winter season. But that summer season was a little bit of a struggle at the end. It just seemed like anything that could have gone against us went against us in terms of gameplay and things like that. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much is what it is, and that's the mindset every time you play. It's just it is what it is. Go to the next one, keep playing wiffle ball, and that's literally what it was. And that's the mindset you also have to have when you play those summer tournaments, which is that's always the case. You play those games, and pretty much it is what it is. Yeah, so we'll touch on the summer tournaments right now, just a few of those ones, and obviously because there's a lot of them, and then along with the SoCal tournaments too. But that's just kind of like summertime has always been the core of when all the big major tournaments happen, and that's where you kind of get tested on where your team is pretty much at, and then. For us, especially, there was a lot of experimenting too, even with those ones as well. And if you don't remember, there are some videos up in the YouTube channel that you can watch from one of those tournaments in particular, and you can see some pretty good moments from everybody, especially Brian Owens in that sick home run that he hit that one time in that tournament. And then we're obviously later on this year, we're going to see another video that's going to get uploaded from the finals because technically I don't have the rights to upload those. That's a SoCal thing. So besides that, summertime was obviously the big core of when everything kind of really is what you train for beforehand and kind of get into the big tournaments that matter for what happens in the fall's time.
Yeah, it's almost like people have the most free time in the summer. It's a crazy concept.
I mean, I'm not guessing that they don't have school or anything. Like these aren't like just people who are in school. These are just like adults. So if they have time, yeah.
I've seen and heard a decent amount of football players are teachers. So having that summer to be able to play and travel and like a guy like Jordan Robles is a teacher. He's a PE teacher. And a guy that I play later, James Stein, is a teacher as well. So, some people have some time, things like that. But the summer is where is that? I mean, also weather-wise, it's also a lot better.
Oh yeah, definitely better weather.
Yeah. But speaking of tournaments, we can go over some of these the summer mock tournaments. Usually there are about 4 that happen each year. This year there are only 3. We did have a LA Wiffles team formed for a couple of those. Some rosters were a little bit different than what were originally planned. We had thankful for Vinny Casella filling in as James Lee and Joaquin Jimenez were not able to make it to those fast pitch tournaments this summer. But we also had guys like Jordan Dressler, Justin Lee, Tommy Hernandez, and myself on the LA Wiffles team. Lost both times to SoCal Wiffle. First one, it was a really weird game. It was like a 7-6 game where the wind was just pounding, and I couldn't. My first real game pitching in fast pitch of the year, and just couldn't find it. The second game, it was me versus the second tournament, it was a 1-0 loss, which was me versus Mike Tui on the mound. Just us RBI single was the difference maker. I believe Dustin had a RBI single. And then, so just came up short in both of those. Almost made it to some final appearances, and would have liked our chances in the finals had we made it there. But it is what it is, and we were able to get to some semifinal appearances, and little bit of a less teams that were definitely out there compared to the past or the 2023 season. But there was also the third tournament of the year, in which there was no LA Wiffles team. However, a lot of the members out there still played on teams. For example, me and Tommy, we went to play with the SoCal team. Just made a full SoCal team with like us two, Dustin Cannon and Ethan Johnson. You and your brother Chris, you joined with the Outlaws for that day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the Outlaws a little bit later as well. It's an interesting point for another topic with the Outlaws, and then Vinny went to play with. We went to play with the Spitfires for the day, so we still had guys out there for all three tournaments, just in different aspects, and and so that's where we're kind of at with that in terms of LA Wolves. We got two tournaments out there and lost 2 1-run games in the semifinals. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get to the finals there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember those ones in particular, but I guess certainly closer than we imagined from a year ago since starting those tournaments, because we'd always kind of get in those situations early on and then kind of lose out in the first round or so, and then that day would be over pretty much. But playing with the Outlaws was kind of fun because you get that, and I've mentioned it in that podcast, is that you kind of get like a different perspective when you play with guys who aren't the usual people that you play with. So playing with those guys and seeing what they do in games and how their strategy works, because they're guys that have been doing it for a very long time, and being able to play with them and seeing their energy is a completely different thing than playing with the same people. And it was pretty fun overall, in my opinion. I liked it, but it was definitely interesting just to be out there. And then I think we ended up playing each other at one point, and that was a whole other thing. Yeah. And then my brother Chris also said it was pretty fun just to be able to be out there, because he definitely pitched some part of it and did some action. But we also got in some weird situation where we got put up with some really good teams. So it was also like not an easy day, so to speak, with those games. But, like you said, it is what it is.
Yeah, it just is what it is with those games like that. I think I remember hitting a 3-run bomb and a ball right through your legs in the game we played against each other.
Yeah.
It's always can be good at times to play with different teams or try different people every once in a while. But with that day, with that last tournament, because we played you in the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
And then I almost wanted to pitch versus you. I almost wanted to pitch one inning versus you guys just to try to face you, see if you guys could do anything against me. That was a 4-0 win, I believe. Then SoCal continued on to go play BLW, in which they had just come off a 7-inning game in which they hit a walk-off versus the Spitfires.
Yeah.
They came into that game a little tired. I only had to pitch 3 out of the 4 innings because by the 3rd inning we were up 8-1. In big part due to me hitting 3-run homers to be able to win that game. We talked about it a bit with Brody last time, who was on our last episode, and then final ended up going to 8 innings of a 4-inning regulation game, and just one hit away from being able to win versus the Las Vegas Swiftlers. While it wasn't their full team. No, they did still have Jordan Bonet, Steve Trippis, and also his son Bruce Trippis, I believe. I know it's one relative. I'm not 100% sure, but kind of the core two of a top team, and we were almost able to take him down. I almost took him down on the mound. So, it was fun with the mock tournaments this year. We'll see how we can get on and what the plan is for the 2025 tournaments.
Mm-hmm. That is what it will be. Well, I think we're going to talk about those goals and those plans a little bit later when we get down to the end of it. Yeah.
It's only January. We got time.
Yeah.
I want to focus on baseball for a while and try to get through play my last year of baseball and be able to enjoy that. And then and once we start getting around like late February, early March-ish, everything will be lined up for 2025 and all that.
Okay.
Gotta figure out what the plan is.
Yeah. You got plenty of time to do that. Yeah. So, touching on those SoCal tournaments just a little bit, because we just lightly talked about it. Just those were obviously, like we said, the videos are up there. That's when we introduced the New Jersey. That one was also kind of an experimented one. So one of them was also an experimented one where we had three brothers, me, Uh,
Oh
me,
God!
Chris, Ethan, that one tournament.
Play that intro right now. Play that one for the podcast right now.
Yeah.
God.
Maybe I'll put that one in later. And then it was originally supposed to be James Lee. That didn't work out, so we weren't exactly the Lee team because we had Tommy Hernandez. So we just said his name is Tommy Lee Hernandez today. That was a fun one just to be able to have because we got shirts that have different funny little jokes about Lee. Mine's was like a nutrition facts list of stuff. Ethan's was the one Lee everyone's talking about, I think, and I forget what Chris's was, but yeah, that one. His shirt was pretty funny too.
It was there.
It was there, yeah, yeah, pretty much. Didn't fare well in that tournament, but it was a fun one to do. I think we also won one of the tournaments as well with Jordan and crew. That was a fun one to do. And yeah, pretty much kind of we some of the goals we actually hit on pretty well in some of those tournaments, and some of those were also really interesting. And then obviously you with the home run derby stuff, that was just pretty impressive. And then yeah, I think overall the summer SoCal tournaments were very interesting this year compared to last year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we were able to go to more of them this year versus last year. There were four this year. I guess. I mean, I somehow managed to win all four of them this year, which was kind of funny. The first one we had like our main SoCal team, which at the time, which was like me, Dustin, Ethan Johnson, and Cannon Rabbits. I think I remember winning the final. We played basically it was basically the Llamas. We played them, and I hit a walk off home run to win that tournament 1-0. Then the second one, I joined up with the Llamas. It was the 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 core Llamas, which is like Trent Lyle, Mitchell Downing, and PJ Gordon. Had a crazy comeback in that finals, which was against it was Dustin, Cannon, Bodie Faulkner, and Logan Christie. We were down 4-1 going into the bottom of the third, and I hit a 3-run homer to tie it up, and then I got intentionally walked with 2 outs, and then PJ hit the walk off home run to win that tournament.
Oh yeah.
Then the third tournament was the LA Wiffles team, which was you, me, Jordan, and Brian
Mm-hmm.
Owens. That was the tournament that we came together and won. Um, which that was kind of the that was one of the breakouts as well for Jordan Dreschler to be noticed by a lot of people and see what he is and things like that. Jordan as our main pitcher for the day because I was hurting that day. I was really sore that day and my elbow was having problems. I only pitched like 2 innings on the day. So we had Jordan and Brian pitch a lot. They combined for a perfect game in the final versus Dustin again. I think that was Dustin, Rodell, Wilson, and Bodie Faulkner again. So good to be able to win that one. And then the last one, it was kind of a last minute team for me. I had some original plans to play with the Hoffmans. Unfortunately, they were unable to go, so I had to kind of scramble and get some last minute people, which I found some good last minute people in the likes of Nathan Dodero and Cannon Rabbit. Cannon Rabbit was the only guy I played with twice at any of these tournaments. Everyone else I played with just one time, so it's kind of funny to see me end up winning all four of these tournaments. But we end up playing. We ended up playing you guys in the quarterfinals,
Yeah.
which is a very close. It was a 2-1 game, which Ethan Lee just randomly decided to have his best pitching game of his life.
Yeah.
Even though I still got on twice, but I went 2 for 3 in terms of getting on base, so suck that, Ethan. Uh, and then we had to play. Dustin was with the Llamas for the for the last tournament. We played him in the semifinals. We were down 4-0 after I gave up a grand slam. This tournament was a week after another event, which we're going to talk about next. So my arm was hanging a little bit, but just was kind of. I said I'm just going to play this tournament through and then just take a little break. I remember Nathan Dodero hit a grand slam with bases loaded, 3-2, 2 outs to give us a tie, and then I hit a solo home run like next pitch to give us the lead, and then a four like we a play at home a ground ball to Cannon was pitching that last inning, ground ball to him and I threw it home and caught Dustin too far away from the bag, over the commitment line to be able to get the third out and win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the finals, I believe we played that was the one we played the Beach City Bombers, which that day it was Tyler Moore, Zach Moore, and Jordan Dreschler. It was me versus Zach on the mound, and we end up winning that one 6-3. For me to be able to claim my fourth tournament win and win all four in the SoCal tournament. So that's how that was kind of when it was a fun round of tournaments, and we'll see how these go this year with with the SoCal Summer Classic in terms of fast pitch and any other SoCal rule tournaments that we have.
Yeah, plenty of those to still go around. Now, speaking of which, about the other tournament that you hit on, just a little bit of context for this one. This is, I think this is, what was it, the first one you guys have ever tried in Michigan with I'm talking about the Wiffle and the Mitten tournament in particular.
I mean, this one that I got the medal for?
Yeah, exactly. That's the one we're talking about.
for first place, for the trophy?
All right, Shaw. But certainly was a big deal in the wiffle ball world for sure. If for SoCal, in SoCal terms, that's huge. So remembering that one and when that happened was like, oh wow, that's a big tournament because that's hosted by an MLW. That's a lot of attention, especially for the people that you had to play with. And I mean, of course, you had some MLW help on that team, but you're talking about playing against a team that has so much experience in MLW, and if you beat them, that means you get a ton of clout and a lot of attention afterwards. And I don't know, you probably can tell way better than I can, obviously, because you were there. So
I don't know. Maybe you were there. I can't remember. I'm not sure.
It wasn't. No, it definitely wasn't.
Well, yeah. So this was MLW's biggest tournament ever. It's their hometown tournament, right there in Brighton, Michigan. They had 95 total teams there across 3 age divisions, in which the 16 plus division ended up having 27 teams. But it was me, it was Dustin, it was Jackson Pearson, and it was Sawyer BN for the group of 4 for this tournament. We ended up going 6-0. And it was a little bit interesting trying to get there because I was coming on a train from Chicago because this weekend happened to work out perfectly with this tournament happened to work out perfectly with I was already in Chicago at the time, so all I had to do was just get a train to Michigan and back, which that was interesting enough because I didn't get to Michigan until like 3:30 in the morning. But you can check out the SoCal Football vlog to get more details on that because I was kind of pissed and tired. But during the tournament, we ended up going 6-0. We ended up meeting a whole lot of different people out there. Just not whether it be guys we played with, guys, a lot of guys in the league, a lot of guys that are around the area in the Michigan area, and just kind of be able to see who they are and things like that. And it was a fun experience overall. I ended up going 6-0, 1 or 2 pool play games. We got the number 5 seed, and then we had to play Jeremy Adams, who we ended up teaming with at UWIFs. We had to play his Flamingo squad, which, while it wasn't a complete Flamingo squad, it's a squad that now has won back-to-back U17 tournament championships at the UWIFs event. We played another dominant pitcher and good team in backyard wiffle ball in the semifinals with Dominic Canzoni, who you can see in the video. I can't figure out for the life of me. And then we end up playing the main MLW blue team in the championship game with the likes of Kyle Schultz, Jimmy Norp, Dallas Allen, who was at the house with the four of us for the SoCal team during this trip, and then also Daniel Schultz as well for that team. And we ended up beating them 2-0. A little bit of a boring game, to be kind of honest. It was a lot of either strikes or walks. I think there was only like one hit in the game. I think Dallas Allen had a double in his first at bat, but we ended up scoring our 2 runs off walks. We ended up throwing a shutout, and Jackson and Sawyer combined on the mound to be able to get the job done for us to be able to win the Wiffle and the Mitten. So that was a cool experience. That was fun. We talked about it a lot more in detail with Dustin on the podcast in the past. So if you want to find out more about that, check it out. It was it was supposed to be a tournament where I was supposed to chill and just save my arm and not have to pitch much, but I ended up pitching the most innings on our team. Which I did see this because Sawyer was in the Sawyer was on the so I got a tangent for a little bit because Sawyer was on that Pipe It Up podcast, the MLW podcast,
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about kind of his process of getting back into throwing and things like that, and he mentioned like MLW Wiffle in the Mitten. He was talking about I was like I pitched in that semifinal championship game because our other two guys who are not MLW guys, their arms were shot. Well, it was a little bit untrue. I mean, Dustin's arm was shot, definitely. Dustin, that was when Dustin was really dealing with some shoulder and elbow problems. But after my 10 innings, I probably honestly could have kept going, and in my mind, I almost did go in that championship game because Sawyer did walk the bases loaded with 1 out or 2 outs or something along those lines. Was struggling to find the zone a little bit at times, but ended up getting. It also was 3-0 to Kyle before he ended up getting him out for the last out to end the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the plan all along for Sawyer to pitch at some point. Not a whole lot because he was kind of getting back into it, and but the plan was for him to pitch. It wasn't like hey Sawyer, we need you to pitch because both our arms are shot. Like
Mm-hmm.
we like I would have been good to be able to keep pitching if needed. Maybe not like I mean, we had Jackson Pearson saved up for the games like to pitch like 3 innings in the semifinals and the finals. But if Sawyer didn't want to pitch, we would have been okay. I would have been okay pitching. But sorry to go on a little tangent. I'll get back to the topic.
No.
But yeah, it was a fun tournament overall. Much different environment to be in Michigan in that it was a hot like dome you were in basically, but overall a fun time and kind of just as we kind of see with 2024, it's kind of just about we're starting to put our name on the map, and this was definitely one of those events to be able to do it in terms of the tournaments and the MLW guys and things like that.
It certainly was a time, and to be able to have that is also big for SoCal because it brings a lot of attention to the West Coast. Has kind of been the goal over the last couple of years for a lot of people, and that in SoCal is to establish the fact that there are good players on the West Coast. There are some people who are passionate about it, and the attention should be drawn over here, not just over on the East Coast, is where kind of it's centralized a lot of the time. But that is also something to be seen later on because there's a lot of things changing up in the West Coast world of wiffle ball, and there's a lot more things happening over here than I'm sure over there as much. So I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what at least that's what I've understand from hearing from what you have said to me in private alongside these podcasts, and then from other people as well, is that there's a lot of other things, a lot of moving parts that are happening right now. But other than that, still a big thing for SoCal wiffle ball and the rest of the West Coast wiffle ball world, and that brought up a lot of attention to basically not just this podcast, but a lot of other people who talk about wiffle ball. I think there's been a lot of other mentions out there as well, and then it's brought a lot of attention to people like Dustin, like Steven, and the likes of like Joaquin and James Lee and all those other guys that play in that league.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what keeps happening.
Yeah, still a lot more to go. Now, this is another shift over into what is the fall season. We did touch a little bit about the partnership, I guess technically with that Scuffed Up and how that's working out, and then obviously the travel squad stuff, and you saw the gloves earlier. So yeah, if you still want to check that out, go look in the link for that. And go check that out. And obviously, Steven said the walk-off bats is also another big thing for Ben Kadespati. So also definitely look into that if that's something you're looking for sure. Steven can probably attest to it. I can attest to it. That's a really nice bat. There's another version of it, I think, coming out at some point. No news has been released yet, but do keep an eye out for that because these are very high-quality bats. They are a little pricey, but they are high-quality bats for sure.
Yeah, you can definitely buy some that are more expensive. That's for sure. When you see the looking at stuff like moonshot bats are not cheap. So
No, they're not. And those things are crazy, crazy expensive bats. Um, yeah. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. This is the little transition point where we're a little bit in the situation where we don't have, because we've been talking about Tommy Hernandez and Brian for a little bit. You know how big they were in the springtime and then the summer season, and now we're getting into the fall season. So now there's other question marks because now people are starting to get into things that they have to, because Tommy Hernandez is going into school. His choice was to kind of stick with that, establish himself at a new school. Azusa Pacific is what I'm talking about. And then Brian Owens has got some other stuff in his life that he's got to deal with, obviously. He's a guy who's he's got a girlfriend. He's got to go take care of that or whatever thing he's got. He's an adult.
It's also an hour drive for like guys like him and Tommy to come each way to come to Irvine to play OC football.
Right, because he's right. Brian and Tommy, they come from the Inland Empire, so they had to make a long drive out there, and that's a big commitment going into OC football, and then obviously not for them going to the fast food tournaments, because that's like right in their neck of the woods basically. But for OC it was a big thing. So this is where things got a little bit interesting, because there was a lot of mystery about who we're bringing in, like what's going to happen, because now we've molded the two teams that we had in OC WIF and made them basically into one because we had to. There wasn't really a lot of options because a lot of people left and whatnot, and people weren't happy with some of the situation that they were in. So there was a lot of question marks. Then all of a sudden there's like rumors that there might be somebody who might be coming back that played wiffle ball in OC WIF a long time ago, and sure enough, it turned out to be Shaden Hendrickson who decided to come back to play in OC wiffle ball, and that was a big surprise having him back in playing with the team, because that kind of also changes the scope, because we're talking about somebody who has been in the league for a very long time, has a lot of accolades to his name, and not just that last namesake basically, but somebody who can play very well in wiffle ball for sure. And that was thanks to Steven for getting him to come back and be able to play with us.
So a little bit of the story behind that specifically. We had some guys not able to play for the next season, guys like Brian and Tommy who were not able to come back. You also had the long-time players were there for 4 seasons, were the Kuroses, which you had David and his son
Evan.
Evan. I was blanking on the name for a second.
Yeah.
Too. They were not able to come back, and then so it kind of left us in a position where I couldn't really do 2 teams anymore. I decided to bring it down to one, just have the core, just have one core team, make it easy for myself. Since I'm basically trying to organize and separate out and make 2 teams and things like that. But with the way it was, I still didn't have. I was still missing one guy, because at that point we had myself, we had you, we had Ethan Lee, and we had Donna Caroni who came back, who wasn't with us for the summer. So I'd heard some stuff about the Hoffmans and Hendricksons coming back, which. They hadn't played in the league since the fall of 2023, after we knocked them out of the playoffs. Sorry.
That was a big reason why they didn't come back.
I was hearing some stuff about they may possibly come back and play in this fall season, but they weren't entirely sure. So I said, okay, if you guys do end up coming back and do want to play, that's great. If you want to make your own team, that's cool. I'll figure something out. If not, let me and if any of you guys still want to play but you can't form that team, which you need a team of at least 5 to be able to play, just have whoever still wants to play, just have them come over to my team, which that ended up being the case. After all that, Shaden was the only one that was able to play, and so we had Shaden join the team, and it was fun to have him around. A guy who's won a lot of awards in OC football. Won the Hank Aaron Award in the fall 2021. Won the. I'm trying to look this up on the website as I go. Was a 3 times in a row home run derby champion. All of 2022, he won every single. Summer 2022, fall 2022, and then spring 2023, he won the home run derby champion. He was a Silver Slugger in fall 2022, and and so on from there. I'm also a Silver Slugger in 2020, in the fall of 2023. I believe he was probably second place in terms of MVP, right after your boy. But
Nice.
yeah, we ended up getting. I mean, he was a little out of practice. He hadn't played since that fall 2023 season. But we got him going. We got things figured out, and as the season kept going on, we ended up having to have more and more stuff go on, and not just have him keep playing. And fortunately, we had a couple close games in the playoffs, which we ended up just losing. That we lose to Beach City Bombers, who then went on to win their. Why is the team we lose to seems to win the World Series every time? It's kind of weird. I'm just noticing that. But
I don't know. That's a great question.
that's also the thing with only having 3 teams. It's like you got a 50-50 chance of it happening.
Pretty much, yeah. But we were hoping that we were kind of hoping that Trespass wouldn't win a third one, so it would have been 3 years in a row.
You hate the Beach City Bombers. Wow.
The first time we've ever elected to cheer for them. Hey, that's why Jordan's with us now, isn't it?
we'll get into that a little bit later. But
yeah.
That whole thing. But yeah, we had Shane join us. We just lost a couple close games in the semifinals of that. Just at the end of the day, just couple little weird game things just didn't go for us. And overall, that fall season was an interesting season. I did win my 3rd MVP, as you can see. I hope you can see right here. Yeah. Another MVP award for the trophy cabinet, which is still sitting right above me, which I can just look at any time I want.
Probably gonna fall at some point with all those awards.
Or if there are any earthquakes that happen, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wood plaques and some glass up here, so and also some bats, so those can just be flung anywhere. So gotta be careful with that. But overall, that fall season going down to one team and having Shane join was interesting in general. And it was a fun season. I think that was a lot more of a fun season, like in which we didn't take it like super seriously. That's why we kind of just went into the mode of let's just have some fun and be able to relax. And we had a lot of goofing around and just having some fun out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then still at that point I was still dominating out there, especially on the mound and things like that. So it was weird. Despite that being my 10th season in this league, and some guys seeing me now for 5-6 seasons, it was a season where I was the best. So go figure.
I guess so. Yeah, it was also, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a surprise, but I think for some people it kind of was maybe. But other than that, congrats, obviously, again, from a guy who has had to play behind this man's shadow for the last 2 years. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm going to have to keep playing with him soon. Little hint for you. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I wanted to bring a little tangent here because it was also kind of funny because when you were mentioning the Hoffmans coming back, I know this was another big thing that we talked about, but it turned out, I guess Dylan didn't realize what the start date of the season was, right? And it was like, okay, Shane Hendrickson is playing with us, right? So why didn't he tell you when the thing was starting?
Well, yeah. So the thing. We didn't end up playing the first week because I was on a cruise and you and Ethan were out of state or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't end up playing that first week of the season regardless. I was kind of contacting with Shane to try to see what the plan is. Are they going to make a team? And then season got around, they ended up not doing it. And I had Shane there. I had him for week 2, and we were on the field for week 3. We were about to start our game, and then Dylan Hoffman texts me and asks, "Hey, when does the fall OC football season start?" and I go, "Yeah, we're in week 3 already." It's like all right, sick. But yeah, it was what it was, and things have worked out for the way they did.
Yeah, it definitely did work out the way that they did, and again, it is what it is, right? So yeah, it's pretty much how that goes. That whole story goes. Now, obviously, the big thing now every single year is the biggest tournament of the year for most people, and basically with the wiffle ball world, if that's somebody who if you follow wiffle ball, you understand that the United Wiffle Ball, I guess, international tournament, technically because you get like what, one team from Japan or something like that.
Oh, two teams this year.
Two teams this year. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Basically, that's the biggest event of the year. This was coming right around the corner. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there this year because of other commitments with school and being named to call the homecoming game at Chapman University for the football game. So I had to stick with that. And that was right around. Actually, no, that wasn't the homecoming game. Never mind. That was because my parents had
No, yeah, you went to a Packers game.
Packers game, yeah, because
they
there was a gift from my parents to go to a Packers game against the Rams, so I had to stick with that because I can't get rid of those tickets, obviously. So I had to stay back behind the scenes, and Steven's over there in York, Pennsylvania once again. But this time I heard, when we were talking about it, completely different, interesting story overall and how that kind of played out.
I'm sorry, you cut out there for me. What'd you say? What was the last part?
I said it turned out to be kind of an interesting story compared to a year ago and the way things turned out in that tournament.
Oh yeah. I mean, for us, we had a little bit more expectation for this team. It was a little bit of a different team. I know Dustin and I were the only two that were returning for UIFs compared to 2023. No Ethan Johnson, who was not able to go. And then Chris Park ended up going back with his Wiffaholics team. And then Andrew Stone. I'm not sure if I saw him this year. I can't remember, but we did have the addition of Sawyer B in there. Some other things were going to be in play where we possibly had another guy, but he ended up going to another team. So we had to kind of. We did have Logan Christie as well. That was set. So we were trying to find a fifth guy, which I did mention earlier. It was Jeremy Adams. So we had that five, who Jeremy Adams was going to be balancing, playing with us and playing with the Flamingos for the U17 tournament, which they ended up winning. And he actually didn't need to pitch because he pitched like 10 innings for the SoCal team anyways. But going to that tournament, we were coming off that MLW win. It sometimes just depends on the matchup, but we were hoping to at least make it further than we did last year, because last year we went 1-3, ended up losing to the Stoppers in the first round of the Survivor round, which that's not the end of the world. I mean, they actually made it to the final 8 that year. So, but yeah, the expectations were set. You weren't able to go as our cameraman, unfortunately, so I kind of had to do the cameraman duties as well for a little bit, which. Hopefully there'll be a vlog out there some point for that, but we shall see for the U.S. trip. But it was a much different, much interesting experience as well for this year's UIFs compared to before.
Yeah, as far as if you wanted to hear all the details and whatnot, you should go backwards to the episode where we do talk about everything that pretty much happened, because. That was a very interesting episode.
There was a lot that happened. I had maybe, if not my best tournaments ever. I'm pulling up the stats right here. I believe I had something along. Looking at the stats, at UIFs I had a 414 average at UIFs in between the 6 games. And I also had a 514 OBP, both of which were the highest. Which it's funny looking at Dustin's stats because he had like a 105 average, but like a 512 OBP, which was just funny to see because he had like 17 at bats in which he got walked or got hit in the head for an out. But I mean, we had a little bit of a magical Saturday night. It was a long day for us. First game we're going against C4, who ended up making it to the championship game. Later on, lost to them 8-5. A little bit of a struggle in the first inning to get things going, but once we did, we carried that over into our next game versus the Blue Balls, in which we beat them 9-2. I want to say something along those lines. And then we had an absolute dogfight of a game, our 1-1 matchup versus Way Too Beautiful, which we ended up going to the 6 innings. We got one run in the top of the 6th. But then Skip, I believe his name is, who also is our ace who pitched against us, try to secure a 2-1 record. He ended up hitting the game-winning two RBI single to win that game. So we ended up going 1-2. Which Dustin pitched that first game, and then Jeremy Adams pitched the next two games. So we end up going to Survivor round where we take on the Blue Jays, which we play a guy we actually played last year who was on a different team, and Rob Sutton's team. He was on the Dragons when we beat them last year, but this year he had his own team, was able to get out there. So we ended up going against them. I pitched that game. We won. It was like 7-2. Then I pitched against the Whiskey Ducks, who was a team out of Texas. Ended up beating them 8-1 or something like that. Something along those lines. I can't remember exactly. Which that was funny because we almost played the Kalamazoo Keggers, which is where Sawyer lives and where Sawyer is from and all of that. So Sawyer almost got to pitch against like a lot of the guys that he plays with but plays ball with every week and things like that. For that would have been cool to see. But round of 24, we get to we had to make one of the 4 out of 15 teams. We're one of the 4 teams to make it to the round of 24 out of the Survivor brackets. When we had to go play the number 10 seed Juggernauts, which that was a little bit of a magical game. If you go check out the highlights on the SoCal Football Instagram, feel free. Hopefully there'll be some videos up at some point. We'll see to highlight that. But that was just a magical game for me. And we're going against Ryan McGilrath, who's very much considered the best football player and for sure pitcher in the world. And I end up getting 3 hits. I'd go 3 for 5 against him, including 2 doubles to kind of spark our offense. And we while we did not lose that one 5-2, it didn't feel like a loss. It was very much a very interesting game, and I had people constantly coming up to talk. A lot of people coming up to talk to me about that game and how I got 3 hits off of Ryan McGilrath and things like that. And even the next day, Chris Sarnowski, who is the captain of the Juggernauts, didn't know my name or anything, but just I was watching their semifinal game. He turns around, looks at me, and is like, "Oh, it's the Ryan McGilrath destroyer." So it's like, "Oh God!" Like it's like, and then next thing he said, next words out of his mouth are, "Wait, what's your name?" I was like, "Oh God, you know me as that." It's like, yeah, it was crazy because it was just crazy. Just that whole Jugs game was just crazy, and it would have been insane if we were able to manage to pull that off. But it's a good learning experience and builder for us to be able to move forward.
And that is exactly why you go to those tournaments, because the more experience you have, the better you usually turn out to be as a player. So hearing that, and hopefully I have no schedule issues for next year, because that's going to be right around October 6th through 8th.
Yeah, it'll be the first weekend of October. Mm-hmm. So hoping to get you guys out there as a camera guy and be able to meet everybody and things like that. No, there are a whole lot of people to be able to meet out there, mm-hmm. And talk to and things like that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Packers will not be in town this upcoming season because they're not playing the Chargers or the Rams. So I don't have that in the way. So yeah. Anyways, welcome back. We were just on the topic of pretty much transitioning from UWIFs, and now we're right into getting closer to the end of what this year has been looking like. If you have been following us, obviously, we've been mentioning it a lot, but like the last 2 episodes, basically, I've been kind of about the Arizona tournaments. If you wanted to check those out, we have Tommy Hernandez and Brody Livingston all over those episodes. We got a lot of attention on the Brody Livingston one. Almost 70 plus views and whatnot, which is kind of the attention we didn't know we were going to get. But that is kind of what happens when you bring a guy who is like Brody Livingston. And if you haven't seen that one, very interesting interview. It was pretty much dominated by Steven asking a lot of questions of Brody, because obviously those 2 guys are big wiffle ball nerds.
That's me. I'm the dominator.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'll let Steven take this part because he was a part of the Arizona tournament as well. Obviously, this was leading up to like a really big finals, basically all the way up in Texas. That's already done a while ago as we're recording this. But yeah, please summarize exactly the Arizona tournament.
Yeah, so with the SoCal guys, we went to two tournaments this year. Originally, the plan was just to go to one and then just relax from there. But we'll talk about the second one a little bit later. But for the first one, we did bring out our SoCal team. Brought out a couple of different players out to this one. We still had the likes of myself and Dustin and Sawyer. But we also had a Braden Eberhardt from California, and then Preston Colm and Dallas Allen from Michigan. So we got out there. We played that tournament. We talked about it a lot in the previous episode 55. It would be of the podcast. So if you want more in depth of that, go into that. But I ended up making it to the final. Beat Should beat the other SoCal team. Beat the Blue Giants in the quarterfinals, and then beat the Pandas, the BLW team, in the semifinals. And then end up just losing a close game 3-2 at the end to the Vegas guys. They were the Thrashers here, but more commonly known as the Las Vegas Woofers. We just play them. It seems like we play them so often, especially in 2024, and just not quite able to get over the hump and be able to defeat them. But I mean, it was like I said earlier, that was a little bit more of the core of a top four team in the world. They had just finished. They had just lost in the semifinals a few whiffs a couple weeks before that, so they were on fire. Jordan Bonet was on fire just everywhere, and we go from there. It was an overall good first tournament from us. And then the second tournament, we decided to join the Blue Giants. Dustin and I came over to play with the Blue Giants there for the last tournament, see if we can make a push into going to Jerry World, into AT&T Stadium, where the top four teams be playing there to win the BLW championship and stuff like that. Had a tough run. I had to face another top 8 team in the world in the Cajuns, who I'd say that's probably the 5 we faced was even better than what finished in the final 8 at US, because they had a top pitcher from the Canes, which we'll talk about the Canes a little more later on. But they had a Cooper Ruckle to them, which they wasn't that with them for US. It was me versus him. I had a tough 1-0 loss. We talked about it a lot in the previous one with Brody. So if you want to more on that, check it out. But that's where the fast pitch kind of ended for the year, was in November in Arizona for that. So those two tournaments were fun for us, and kind of fun to look back and look at all the memories and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of memories, and that kind of capped off like the big like wiffle ball tournaments, like you said, and a lot more of the. For your case, a lot more of the bigger tournaments this year. It seems like than the last previous years, and now now we're at this point where it's like now it can only go up from here, or just keep it where it is. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how much more up we can go from here, but we'll see. We'll talk about that a little later on.
yes, sir. Now, the final little bit of piece, which is kind of still in progress right now, is going back to OC Whiff. And if you guys didn't know, the roster also changed once again. And this time, because of the way the league has been put back together, because Dylan Hoffman finally got the right start date. So so the Hoffmans are playing with the Hendrickson, Shaden Hendrickson in particular, and then Joey Ponder and Fromm are all back together on one single team, including Munoz. And so that kind of forced our hand or your hand, I should say, to really figure out like what's gonna happen with the league, I guess, because now we have a super competitive team back in the league, so that makes it 4 Division 1 teams in total. Yeah, it's supposed to be 5, but I think one team dropped out.
Yeah.
So in a surprising move, and I was maybe a little surprised by this too, but it turned out our man Jordan Drexler was going to come back and play with us, and now he's with us this winter season, and we're trying to go for yet another run to close out the season before everything else is kind of happening, because like you said, there's consideration of maybe taking a break for a little bit and then maybe coming back to it, or if there's other bigger plans later in the future. But obviously the big thing here is having Jordan back on the team once again, and this time the team also looks a little different than the championship team that we had. Ethan Lee obviously back with us, but Raffman is kind of the guy who decided to bounce back with us, and now he's on the team as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, different people leaving, different people coming back, things like that. Shaden obviously left, so we had to try to fill the void, fill some gaps. I think Dominic Caroni was here for the fall, then left for the winter, so I had to try to fill in stuff. And I was kind of struggling to fill in the roster, to be honest. And I talked to Jordan. Jordan made the decision to come back and play with us for good. So that was fun to have him back. He was after he just won the World Series with Beach City, get him back in the team and get him around. Just have that friend group be back close again as it was always was the kind of the goal I wanted, and just not even playing wise, just more of a have some fun and think and be together because we've been worked together for that whole year where we won almost everything we played and things like that. So, I mean, so far good, so good with stuff like that. Just out there, just enjoying some Tuesday night whiffs, and we'll see where we go from here. But looking forward to looking forward to things in the future. We'll see what happens with the future seasons as. Life is busy, times are busy, and we'll see what happens in terms of that for the future. But so far, it's good to have Jordan. It's good to have Jordan back, even if certain people believe they gave him back to us or allowed us to have him. Say, okay, whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's good to have Jordan. It's good to have Jordan back home.
It's good to have him without surprising news, obviously, right?
God.
uh, Here's the other big thing just before we get into the bigger recap of everything, and we're like looking at the outlook of how the year has kind of gone. I don't know where this source is from, but you're gonna have to explain it to everybody who's watching. According to I guess SoCal Wiffle Ball has been named number 11 team in the world for 2024. Whatever source this is, yeah, explain, please.
Yeah, so this is from the wiffle ball ranking. There's a wiffle ball rankings page called the Drop. They call it the Drop 100 because every year they usually list out the top 100 players in wiffle ball for a certain year. I don't know where it is for 2023, but you can look it up and go see it for 2022 and all that stuff in the past. And they decided this year to do the top teams as well. They have top teams in terms of their accomplishments and accolades, what they did in different fast pitch environments and things like that. So for us, we got listed as the number 11 team. Not bad for a sophomore season, I'll say. You had some have your top teams like you have the Juggernauts at one. I'm trying to find. I'm looking for the list right now, but we were officially named the number 11 team in the world. You have like the Las Vegas Whifflers were the second team. Circle City Wiffle Ball Skull Crushers were third out of Indiana. You have teams like the Cajuns in nine, and we were at the number 11 team for 2024. So that was pretty cool to see. I was hoping we would be able to get up there. I didn't know what to expect, but I mean, we talked about a lot of those accolades earlier, being the going undefeated and winning the Wiffle, the Mitten, going 3-3 at UWIFs, making it to the final 24, and making an exciting round of 24 game versus the Jugs, and then finishing second place at BLW Scottsdale, and not even taking the fact of all the other mock tournaments and other stuff like that we've run and played and things like that. So this was like the official wiffle ball ranking, and eventually the top 100 players in the world will be listed. And I know Dustin and I are hoping to be on that list, so that would be cool to see if we're able to break the top 100.
And this also just goes to show what, like we mentioned, we talked about it a lot, and like how big the Wiffle and the Mitten victory was, being undefeated, and second place BLW, like you said, like all those little things they came together, and they finally the work kind of came through and shows for itself. In those rankings should definitely show like how up and coming it is. I'm obviously assuming this is the highest this ranking has ever gone for SoCal Wiffle Ball, obviously.
Well, it's our first time. I mean, I'm not sure how many times they've done like a top teams before, but I mean, this is definitely. This is technically our sophomore season in terms of playing in this stuff like in the like fast what they would classify as rankings and things like that.
Hmm.
Last year we wouldn't have made it because all we had last year was UIFs, and we went 1-3 last year. So obviously that's not going to do it for you. But we've gone around, we've played around a lot. Played in Michigan, played in Arizona, played in Pennsylvania and things like that. So we'll see what happens for the future, and we'll see what happens with the for 2025 because even they got some high hopes for 2025.
Yeah. So my question is now, since we're looking a little bit ahead into the year, and before we get into the big recap, but discussing this and what the future plans are for the league in West Coast wiffle ball, so to speak, in general. Obviously, you guys were ranked number 11. Do you guys see a goal where you make it into the top 10, or do you just kind of like see this and say, you know what, this is a good progression. This is where we kind of want to be. This is a good thing for, not just us, but everybody else who's out here.
In terms of in terms of stuff, I mean, like fast pitches. I mean, this is a kind of a different environment, a different level than like your league per se. This is more based off like your competitive team.
Hmm.
So for if it were based on league, like a league like MLW would be like a top league every single year. But this is more based off this would be more based off like the MLW competitive team, the SoCal competitive team, things like that, and like how they've done and what they've done and going around to play and things like that. So with so it's kind of looked at as two different aspects.
Hmm.
You have the league side, which we have the league. We have the league here in California. It pretty much stays in California. It's fun to have, and we get to play against a lot of other guys around here. And then you have the competitive team, which is from SoCal. Pretty much, it's me and Dustin, and we'll see if anyone else from California gets added because we also have we have the likes of Jackson Pearson and Sawyer Bean who have played with us a lot, and it sounds like they want to continue playing with us. So we'll see how that roster completely fills out. But that's how I kind of look at it. It's like two different aspects. But in terms of like competitive team, like it's definitely something we look to build on and continue to get better with and move up in the rankings even more because this is I think it's a good starting point for us as a sophomore season. But I think we can improve and move up even more, and who knows how high we can go.
Definitely. 2025 is definitely the year to see where that goes. Obviously, the quarter century mark is already here. It's crazy. Um, so, just to close out a little bit on what we've kind of gone over, in summary, and thank you for putting this together, by the way, 20 episodes in total. Made it to the 50 mark, which is really big deal. Obviously, everyone saw the episode where we had our first in-person pod, including in tournament pod too. If you want to make it that as well. First ever out-of-state guest, obviously Brody Livingston. Introduced Tommy Hernandez as our third host, who you've seen time and time. And then the first ever gameplay footage, obviously, on the channel from the tournament from the summertime. Hoping to get some more on there eventually, especially since I'm out of school, so I have maybe a little bit of time, but who knows? That depends where this career path goes.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have baseball and whatnot, so that's obviously a priority. Right. It's smoke and mirrors. We don't know exactly where the year's going to go and what the future will hold, but it's been a good list, so to speak, and where we've been able to make it through. And what a heck of a year 2024 was, and all the guests who've been on here as well. Will Contrell, Donald, Tom Hernandez, obviously, Brian Owens, Dustin Staggs, Brody Livingston, like we mentioned. All these guys are newer faces that we've introduced into the podcast, and hopefully we can bring them back more. And even people who we had in 2023 as well, we can bring those people back at some point. But the more the merrier, and we always enjoy having people on here to be able to share their story because then it's kind of the reason why we have this in the first place.
Yeah, just be able to do something to have some fun. I'd say 2024 was a lot of the breakout year, kind of for California whiffs, with like the newer generation. Obviously, had like the whippets in the past and stuff. But with like the newer generation trying to bring a new look for SoCal wiffle ball, for California wiffle ball in general, and I think this was kind of the breakout year, and then 2025 we'll look to try to solidify that path in terms of moving up, continuing to improve and do better and better each year and things like that. So this could be it. It's looking like it could be a breakout year for us, but nothing can be said too early. You never know what's going to happen and things like that. So we'll see.
Heck yeah. Okay. Well, now that that part is over, looking back at 2024, we can now look ahead into the new year. Maybe give you guys a preview. Obviously, we kind of given a little bit of an explanation. Apparently, and we talked about this before we started recording. There's been, I guess, in your terms, a leak, so to speak, about something that's happening in the future. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so, well, I wasn't sure if it was like leaked at first or if it was just like I wasn't sure if it was more like done like accidentally or someone did it on purpose in terms of the Mid Atlantic Wiffle roster, the MA roster for us for 2025. We're going to try to be more competitive in that and play more than one time, possibly try to make it to the playoffs and see where we can go from there. But the roster just came out and it got announced yesterday. We got Dustin and myself. Obviously, Dustin and I'll pretty much be there in every SoCal team unless one of us can't make it. We got the likes of Sawyer Bean staying with us, Jackson Pearson staying with us. We both of them played at MA opening day last year. And then our goal is to try to figure out and fill out what the fifth and sixth spots were going to look like. We had some guys originally lined up that didn't end up working out. And talking to a number of different guys and trying to figure things out. Things have finally gotten solidified lately with Kenny Stengel and Devin Torres joining the SoCal team for the 2025 MAW season. Who those two are two staples of the Canes for fast pitch, in which they are a consistent top 18, top 16 team. Finished top four in 2022 and top eight in 2023. Last year they had a little bit of they were in the same bracket as us, and it was a really tough bracket, uh, and actually they made it to the round of 24 last year, but they had the same record as us and the same path as us. Had to go through the survivor round games and then go through there. So, but overall, looking forward to having those two guys play with us and playing with them. Uh, Also, two guys a little closer to the East Coast that can be able to go out a little more often if Dustin or I can't be able to go. I mean, because it's not cheap for us to go out there, but that's to be totally honest. But we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens. It should be a fun time for this season, and I think opening day is to make May 3rd and 4th. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to go to that one specifically, but they also have 5 or 6 other tournaments throughout the year. So we'll see what happens, and we'll continue from there.
Okay, yeah, good preview of what that's going to look like. And obviously, going back to SoCal as a league, though, is going to be a little bit different. I don't know if we mentioned a lot about it throughout the last few podcasts or not, but I guess the way things are going to happen is going to be a little bit different. And then obviously, since I didn't get drafted last year, and there's a chance I could get drafted again this year, and a lot of newer faces in the league as well. So looking forward to a good 2025 with possibly maybe you and I playing on the same team. Who knows? Or if somebody else decides to take me or anyone else, and it'll be either way. I mean, it's always interesting to see what teams we have because there's obviously a lot of newer people coming into the league now too.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with all the SoCal stuff, with the competitive side, with the league side, even with the like the LA Wolfos, like what the plan is for us this year. It's kind of a little up in the air right now in terms of what's going to happen, but it should be interesting to see.
Definitely. Well, it looks like everything else is pretty much all said and done for. If it seems like, unless you got anything else you want to share that we didn't tell the
I
audience.
mean, we shared a lot, so it's
Yeah.
not like we are left short of anything. But yeah, 2024 was a busy year and it was a good year for a lot of different aspects for SoCal and for us in particular. So we will continue to see, we'll continue to play, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to 2025. Hope everyone is going to have a wonderful 2025. Best of luck to everybody who we're going to play, obviously who we're going to see in the future. Can't wait to see who we meet, what happens in games, and whatnot, obviously playing along your side. And obviously, if you understand this reference, happy Raul Menendez year. um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for all of us here at That Scuffed Up Podcast. My name is Justin Lee. Stephen Hayden on the other side, as always. Here's to more episodes in the future, and hope you guys have a fantastic new 2025. See y'all soon.